Dr. Kohli, let's also talk about India's options here. Well, you said 50 billion odd dollars is what India is likely to use, but you know, the entire world is an oyster for India at this point in time, isn't it? Look at Southeast Asia, look at the BRICS nation, look at the outreach which China has just extended to us. So obviously, this is not the India of the 80s or the 90s without any choices. We have explored relationships in the past as well, and we have been relegated and cornered similarly in the past as well, and we pulled through.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I loved what Ambassador Goel calling him as a property dealer. you know, that's the right kind of term. Especially in northern India, when we call somebody as a property dealer, you know what it means. I loved Ambassador Goel's title given. Yes, India. I think it's just a temporary bump as far as Indian economy is concerned. That to exporters, as I said. India is not primarily an export-driven economy, although I'm so glad our exports are today $825 billion. Indians, in fact, exporters are already looking at markets. I was talking to somebody in Kolkata who exports leather to America. They said we've already started looking eastwards. We're looking at Far East and Southeast Asia for newer markets. That's fine because India is totally fine with that. As I said, it's going to be America which is going to be the loser. And one reason which I said earlier, where the American people are not able to digest, is his policies are not consistent. You call India as funding the Russia-Ukraine war. You hold India responsible for the deaths happening in Ukraine. What about China? China is exporting far more oil than India. What about US itself importing $3 billion worth of goods, which President Trump said, I'm sorry, I'm not aware. And when he calls Pakistan as I love Pakistan, he probably forgot that Osama bin Laden was picked up from Pakistan. The very person, who was probably responsible for 9/11 or whatever was that. So I think there is no consistent thinking which is happening. I think somebody who's head of the state of the largest economy in the world has to be very, very stable-minded, has to be very consistent in his thought process. But we are not seeing that consistency because the principles he's trying to use is not uniformly being applied or universally being applied across the world, which is why I said that American people by themselves are not able to digest this kind of approach towards India as such. And India, as you rightly said, India is a great economy, 6.5% of growth. All our economic high frequency indicators, we call them as HFIs, whether it's forex reserves, whether it's PMI, whether it's tax collections, we are going great guns. We don't have a need to worry. As I said, it's just a very temporary bump that we're probably going to face. But then RIC becoming stronger, as Ambassador Goel rightly said, who would have thought Russia, India, China, coming together and in a huddle, when Prime Minister Modi visits China, I'm sure it's going to give some sleepless nights to President Trump because if India gets closer to China and China has already eased out imports of tunnel boring machines, of fertilizers, of rare earth magnets, that is a step in the right direction. So he's bringing the adversaries together, and we welcome that. We don't mind. I mean, America wants to become an adversary out of its own call, although India has relations with America on many fronts. This is not the only front. Trade is not the only front. I'm sure I have not seen, Ambassador Goel would agree with me, I have not seen India-US relations at this low in my 35 years of career. We had President Nixon at that time, but then I haven't seen these kind of relations just because of somebody's thought process is defying the principles of diplomacy, is defying the principles of economics, is defying geo-economic around the world, is destabilizing the world at this point. I'm eagerly waiting for 1st of September, Vineet, and I'm waiting for those goods to reach the shelves of the stores in America, and then people buying them at those prices. I'm waiting for that day. I think that will be the fitting answer to President Trump. The economy will give him an answer. Nobody else is able to convince him. Nobody else is able to explain it to him. American economy will provide him an answer. We just need to hang around for 4 to 6 weeks and just watch this whole drama unfold in the form of economic outcome.